I will haunt you from the grave. These are not words from a horror movie script, but from a real person. A person convicted of unspeakable crimes. Imagine holding their letter. You are holding a direct line to a mind that has crossed the ultimate boundary. They are artifacts of darkness, windows into a world most of us will never know. It's a journey into the shadows guided by the very hand that committed the crime, but their letters reveal something far more disturbing. A person. It is this very humanity tangled up with pure evil that makes their writing so utterly terrifying. It's a psychological puzzle box, and every letter is another piece to the darkness within. We will journey behind the prison walls to sit down with the thoughts of killers. Prepare yourself, because once you read what they have to say, you can't unread it. The ink may fade, but the words will haunt you. What secrets are locked away in a prison cell? We think of steel doors and concrete walls holding back the physical threat. But what about the thoughts, the memories, the justifications that churn within the mind of a convicted killer? They can't be contained by locks and keys. And sometimes they spill out onto paper. A letter to a pen pal. A diary entry meant for no one, a rant to a journalist. These are the messages from the void, the unfiltered thoughts of those who have committed the ultimate sin. They offer a perspective that is as rare as it is terrifying. We will explore these intimate, often disturbing documents. They are a direct line into a world of narcissism, delusion, chilling self-awareness. One killer might write with poetic grace about the beauty of a sunset, conveniently omitting that he watched it from a window overlooking the prison yard. Another might fill pages with meticulous, paranoid, legal arguments, convinced of a grand conspiracy against them. These are not just ramblings. They are carefully constructed narratives, attempts to control their own story, to reshape monstrous acts into something they can live with. The power of these letters lies in their raw, unmediated nature. There are no lawyers present, no television cameras rolling. It is just them and the page. Here we can see the mask slip. We can witness the chilling calm of a psychopath, describing crimes with eerie normalcy. We can feel the volcanic rage of another, lashing out on the page. These documents are a battleground for the truth. The killer's version of reality clashes with the cold, hard facts. A psychological deep dive into the darkest corners of human nature. In this journey, we will become textual detectives. Every word is a clue. Every turn of phrase is a potential tell. Why did they choose that specific adjective? What is the significance of the underlined sentence? We will peel back the layers of deception and self-pity. Search for the core of their being. Is there a flicker of remorse to be found, or only an endless dark abyss? Join us as we unlock these chilling messages. Attempt to understand the minds that wrote them, because sometimes the most frightening stories are not fiction. They are written in ink from a prison cell. Our descent begins with a man who craved the spotlight, giving himself a name that would echo through the nightmares of Wichita, Kansas, BTK. For 30 years, this phantom haunted the city, a ghost who would strike and vanish, leaving behind terror and grief. But this ghost loved to write, taunting police and media with letters that were a chilling game of control. Dennis Rader was a family man, a church council president, a Boy Scout leader, and a monster. His letters were a terrifying cocktail of arrogance and meticulous planning, describing his crimes in cold detail. Rader included trophies from his victims, physical proof of his acts. The letters were his lifeline to the fear he created, a way to relive his crimes and feel the power he craved. He was the puppet master, and everyone was dancing on his strings for 30 years. The BTK letters were a masterclass in psychological warfare. He was orchestrating a long, drawn-out game of cat and mouse with himself as the clever, elusive predator. He clearly enjoyed the chase and relished the power it gave him. He would go silent for years, letting the community breathe a collective sigh of relief. And then, just as a sense of safety began to return, another letter would appear. "How about a name for me?" he wrote. And so the name he suggested for himself, BTK, was born. This act alone reveals the depth of his narcissism. Each piece of mail was a calculated move in his game, designed to keep the police off balance and the public in a state of perpetual anxiety. Perhaps the most terrifying aspect of this deadly game was Rader's patience. He was feeding his own ego, reliving the power and control with every word he put on the page. Examining the BTK letters, the chilling attention to detail stands out. Dennis Rader meticulously catalogued every aspect of his crimes, from stalking victims to methods used to subdue them. He wrote about his troll jobs, watching his future victims for weeks, learning their routines and vulnerabilities. He described it all with a disturbing lack of emotion, as if writing a technical manual for murder. In one letter, he detailed the contents of his hit kit. It was a proud inventory of his trade. This clinical detachment is one of the hallmarks of a psychopath. His letters were a way of documenting his work. This obsession with detail terrified the police and the public. These details were his signature. His letters were often neatly written with specific instructions. He would try to control everything: the investigation, his public image, and the narrative of his own life. Dennis Rader's letters reveal a chilling duality: the depraved killer, the respected community member. His writings are filled with graphic violence, yet he lived as a church president and compliance officer. This mask of normalcy let him evade suspicion for decades. Rader's letters swing from cold murder accounts to mundane complaints, exposing a profound psychological disconnect. He compartmentalized his life with disturbing efficiency. Dennis Rader on one side, BTK on the other. The letters were the only place these identities met, written as if they were separate people. This duality is what makes such killers so terrifying. They're not monsters in the shadows, but neighbors and friends. His need to keep the BTK persona alive ultimately led to his capture. After years of silence, he resumed sending letters in 2004. In a fatal mistake, he asked police if a floppy disk could be traced. Police replied, "Rex, it will be okay." He took the bait. The disk's metadata led straight to Rader's church and to him. The mask was finally ripped away by his own need to be heard. Now, we move from public letters to a private diary. The mind of Alyssa Bustamante. Outwardly, she was a troubled teen in Missouri. Inwardly, her diary chronicled a descent into darkness. The entries are a countdown to catastrophe, documenting her obsession with violence and the urge to kill. The diary became her confidant, nurturing her darkest desires. She mixed typical teenage angst with chilling fantasies, blurring the line between the ordinary and the monstrous. Each entry shows her growing fixation, the impulse to harm intensifying over time. The diary wasn't just reflection, it was a blueprint. Alyssa planned her crime, writing about digging graves before luring her young neighbor to her death. This was no crime of passion, but a premeditated act, detailed on paper before reality. Her diary is a stark reminder. Sometimes the most dangerous monsters hide in plain sight. The mundane and the malevolent coexisted in her writing, making it all the more disturbing. The diary incubated her intent, allowing her plans to fester. In the end, her words foretold the horror she would unleash. After Elizabeth Olten's murder, Alyssa's diary became key evidence. But her story didn't end there. From prison, she wrote letters with a new tone, pleading for understanding, insisting, "I'm not a monster." The cold killer of her diary was replaced by a voice seeking sympathy, blaming mental illness a troubled past. This is classic manipulation, shifting blame, seeking empathy, rewriting her narrative. Her letters blur the facts, painting herself as a victim rather than the aggressor. The contrast is stark. In her diary, she described the murder as amazing and enjoyable, with no remorse. In prison letters, she claims overwhelming guilt and regret. Which voice is real, the proud killer or the repentant inmate? It's a psychological shell game, truth lost in self-serving apologies. Even after horrific acts, the need for connection and understanding persists. Alyssa's letters are a plea to rewrite her legacy, but the diary stands as the unfiltered truth. The original manuscript exposes her real motives, louder than any later apology. Her words from the night of the crime remain the most damning evidence. Alyssa's most infamous diary entry came the night of the murder, a confession in emotional code. She wrote, "I just killed someone," describing the act with chilling bluntness and no remorse. She called the experience amazing and pretty enjoyable, then casually added, "Kay, I gotta go to church now, LOL." The use of lol after a murder confession reveals a profound detachment from reality. This entry exposes her true psyche. No performance, no fear of consequence, just raw truth. The nervous and shaky feeling she describes as adrenaline, not guilt. Her trip to church wasn't repentance, but another layer of deception. Psychologists see this as evidence of psychopathy. No empathy, thrill-seeking, treating others as objects. The diary wasn't just a record, it was a trophy, a monument to her crime. She wasn't confessing, she was celebrating her power. This chilling perspective in her own handwriting is the clearest window into her mind. The entry is a private celebration, not a cry for help. Her words document a personal achievement, not a sin. Alyssa's diary gave us her inner world, but the police interrogation tape reveals her public mask. On tape, she's calm, measured, a concerned neighbor offering to help, all while knowing the truth. Every word is a calculated lie, her performance chilling in its composure. The contrast between her diary and her voice on tape is stark. Proud killer, helpful teen. As detectives press her, subtle cracks appear. Her answers grow evasive, her confidence falters. The mask begins to slip. The predator senses the hunt turning on her. For investigators, these vocal cues are crucial. Tells in a high-stakes game. The tape captures her slow unraveling, the performance breaking under pressure. When confronted with her diary, the act ends, not with remorse, but with resignation. The audio and diary together form a complete portrait. The internal monologue, the external deception, we see the why and the how, the lies and the truth. Alyssa tried to hide her darkness, but her own words and voice exposed her. The mask could not withstand the evidence. Her performance was over. The reality was undeniable. Comparing Rader's letters and Bustamante's diary, a disturbing pattern emerges, a blueprint for murder. Both used writing as a tool to plan, fantasize, give shape to their crimes. The page became their private workshop where the monstrous was assembled. Both engaged in fantasy rehearsal, living out their crimes in writing before acting. Rader detailed stalking tools, Bustamante wrote about digging graves. This wasn't a snap decision, but cold, methodical preparation. Their writings were proving grounds, refining violent desires into actionable plans. Writing served two purposes: organizing logistics, self-radicalization. Each word blurred the line between fantasy and reality, making the unthinkable achievable. For both, the diary and letters were bridges from imagination to action. This pattern recurs in true crime. Killers who document, plan, and narrate their own horror stories. For these predators, the crime isn't complete without the narrative. The words are the foundation of their terrible worlds. At the heart of these writings lies profound narcissism. It's more than just simple arrogance. It's a god complex. It is the belief that they are superior and that the normal rules do not apply to them. Their writings are drenched in this self-obsession. Their victims are reduced to mere plot devices in a story that is all about them. Because a masterpiece is not a masterpiece if no one ever sees it. They feel a deep-seated need for their genius to be recognized. These killers are writing their own identity into existence. It is a testament to their perceived greatness. Once the game is over and the cage door slams shut, a remarkable transformation occurs. The God complex collapses, and a new narrative must be constructed. The narrative of the victim. The proud predator suddenly becomes the misunderstood soul, a product of circumstances beyond their control. This shift is not genuine remorse, but a final, desperate act of manipulation to control the story. It wasn't him. You see, it was a demon inside him. The blame is expertly shifted away from the self. A psychological sleight of hand. The killer is no longer an agent of evil, but a tragic figure who deserves pity, not condemnation. They are weapons used to disarm judgment and reshape their public image. The goal remains the same: to be the center of the story. Do killers ever feel true remorse? Comparing their writings before and after capture reveals a vast chasm. It's the chasm between regret and remorse. Regret is selfish. Remorse is empathetic. Their writings are deserts devoid of remorse. It's a closed loop of self-pity. The victim, almost absent. It suggests an unbridgeable gap in their humanity. Their writings reveal a terrifying emptiness, a black hole of self-obsession from which no true remorse can escape. When a killer puts pen to paper, the words travel outwards like a toxic ripple. For the families, the discovery of these writings is a terrible form of re-victimization. The voice of the person who destroyed their world returns. It's an echo spoken by the very monster who put them there. forcing them to relive the horror. You believe there is, at last, a finality. Then a letter surfaces. The killer boasts about the crime, describes your loved one's final moments, or offers a hollow apology. This isn't just salt in an open wound. It is poison, ensuring the killer's reign of terror continues long after they are locked away. For law enforcement, a killer's letters are a double-edged sword. They can be a goldmine of intelligence containing confessions, clues, and details only the killer would know. Dennis Rader's letters were filled with taunts and trophies, a torment for the Wichita police. This carries a heavy psychological weight. The BTK letters were a direct personal challenge, treating officers as adversaries. These writings offer a harrowing education in the nature of evil. That exposure can be corrosive to the soul, leaving a burden long after the case closes. Even from prison, they can still taunt, asserting a final, defiant control. When a killer's writings are unleashed, they become a cultural phenomenon, dissected on television and debated online. The public becomes a vast jury, delivering its own verdict on the killer's sanity, motivations, and the nature of their soul. This creates an uncomfortable relationship with the killer. They are reviled, yet their words are consumed with ravenous curiosity, but more often than not, the writings of killers offer no comfort. Instead, they reveal a chilling emptiness. Public's reaction is often a mixture of terror and outrage. It reflects our societal need to draw a clear line between good and evil. We reinforce our own moral boundaries by reacting with horror to those who have crossed them so violently. The public writes the final chapter. We have journeyed into the darkest corners of the human psyche. We have read the private words of those who live beyond the reach of empathy, words written in the smug confidence of a predator on the hunt, words written in the feigned remorse of a killer caught in a cage. From Dennis Rader's arrogant taunts to Alyssa Bustamante's chilling diary, these documents are a stark and terrifying roadmap of a broken soul. They are the arias of the narcissist, the manifestos of the monster, the blueprints that lay bare the cold architecture of evil, showing step by step how a human can choose to become a predator. What is the final lesson learned from holding these letters up to the light? The most terrifying monsters are not mythical beasts. No, they do not have claws or fangs. They are human. They live next door. They lead the scout troop. They post on social media. Their writings reveal a chilling ability to compartmentalize, to build a mask of normalcy, so seamless that no one can see the abyss beneath. This duality is the true horror. A mind that plans murder with the same detachment as planning a trip to the store rattles our understanding of the world. And so the most haunting revelation, a final word from a killer that chills to the bone. Not Rader or Bustamante, another predator writing to a journalist from his cell, asked after decades inside if he felt remorse. His response was not an apology, not a plea for understanding. It was a simple, terrifying statement of fact. He wrote, "Remorse is for the weak. I regret nothing. If I could, I would do it all again, only I would do it better." Those words hang heavy and cold. They offer no comfort, no explanation, no hope for redemption. The final, unvarnished truth from the heart of the abyss. The voice of unrepentant evil that does not fade with time or confinement. A declaration that the monster is not temporary but an identity, a permanent condition, the ultimate rejection of our shared humanity, a grim warning. The bodies may be buried, but the thoughts, the desires, the pure evil that drove the act remain very much alive. What remains after reading these letters? An enduring echo. These words become a dark footnote in humanity's story. Their writings are proof of a void we can never fully comprehend. The purpose is to arm ourselves with understanding, to recognize evil. These patterns are recurring themes. We learn to see the warning signs hidden in plain sight. What about the smarter ones, who keep their dark desires locked away? How many walk among us, their minds a vault of horrors? This is the true, enduring echo, the silence of those who never leave a clue.